Hello everybody, welcome back to another Stray Basilisk coding stream. I think this is episode 23. This is Jason from Stray Basilisk, and today we're going to continue working on this little isometric puzzle game, which we got to start with. Oh, sorry, wrong window. Wrong window is in focus. I put you onto the wrong scene there. Where was I? Yeah, we're going to continue with this little isometric puzzle game, which we started over the last couple of streams. So the first stream, we just made a little renderer, which is responsible for loading in all of these tile images. Let me actually show you what those look like. Yeah, we basically have a bunch of little images like this. Hey, Spark, Macanario, how's it going? How are you doing today? It's been a little while since I've seen you on the stream. It's great to have you back here again. How's things where you are in the world? It's getting cold over here. There was the craziest fog today. Like I was walking to the shop earlier and there's a little field by the side of the road and it kind of dips down and it was full. It was like a bowl full of fog. It was really, really crazy and kind of scenic and interesting. Yeah, so we take these tile images and we basically render them on this grid, and that's more or less what we did with the first stream. With the second stream, we made this into a little bit more of an editor, whereby we have these tiles listed at the top. I can scroll through these and then kind of place them on the map. So already we have a little nice road building thing going on here. And then the very last thing we did in the previous stream is we wrote some code which allows us to begin turning this into an actual full-fledged game. And the idea of the game is that we have this tower and we have one or more buildings kind of placed around the map, and the player's goal is going to be to use road pieces to connect the tower and all of the buildings together. Right now I can just place as many road pieces as I want, so that's really no challenge to do, but probably what we want to do in this stream is make it so that they have a limited number of each type of piece, so it's more of a puzzle to solve, like, you know, given these building placements and maybe there's some like pre-placed like fixed roads already there, they're gonna have to fill in the gaps and figure out what types of curves and junctions and stuff are needed to make a road network which connects all of these things efficiently. So that's kind of going to be the challenge. It's similar to a lot of like pipe connecting games. This is often what the little hacking game is like, you know, when you're hacking through a door or something, they use a little mini game like this. So I feel like it's a kind of common game that people are used to. But it lets us demonstrate some interesting things. Aside from the cool isometric viewpoint, we have a bit more logic and actually some cool kind of graph theory type stuff which we actually got into in the previous stream. So the bulk of the previous stream was implementing something which allows us to check whether the roads the player has placed down are valid. So this placement of roads I've got right here, clearly not valid, right? This makes no sense. There's roads floating around in the middle of nowhere. They do not connect up properly. If I close and reopen this, right now there's no easy way to delete roads, so that's why I'm doing this. If I close and reopen, we can imagine what an actual legal road network might look like. So, you know, this can't just hang somewhere, it needs to connect. So maybe we loop it back around and then connect it here. That's not quite there because we've still got this road somehow. So maybe we do something like this, where we create like a junction where this hooks up. Okay, now this is legal, right? Because just visually it makes sense. Everything connects up. There's no stuff floating around in the middle of nowhere. There's no things connecting, you know, like that in ways which don't seem legit. So we implemented some logic to check that. I think I can quickly run through what it does. You should probably check the previous stream, which is recorded on here and on our YouTube channel, if you really want to get into how this works. But to put it simply, we have this big list of every type of road and which directions it connects in. So, for example, we have, I'm trying to point, like this kind of piece here, right? Which kind of goes to the bottom left and the bottom right. Actually, this top right side we called north. So east is like over this way, south is like in this direction, and west is in this direction. So this road is actually running like north to south as far as we're concerned. And we can see here, like, here's the entry for that piece of road. Road 2, which is this one here, is tagged as going, wrong window, to north and south. And basically what we do is we go through every bit of road and we say, if I'm a north-south piece bit of road, there should be a road to my north and there should be a road to my south. And not only that, but the road to my north should have a south connection, if that makes sense. So if this is our north-south bit of road, the road to its north is here, which is actually this kind of piece. And you can see it does connect to its south, right? Meaning it connects back to the road. And the same is true in the other direction, right? For my south direction, my neighbor to my south should have a northwards connection so that those things can kind of join up properly. And that's all it is, right? If you do that for every piece of road that's been placed, then it will, if that's the case, if all of their neighbors exist and they all have the correct connections together, then it's valid. And actually, if I press V, then we actually print something out here. So right now this is saying valid false. That's because of this bit of road floating. If I made this something a bit more sensible, nope, like this, and then this should be like a T-junction. We're almost there. It still says valid false, and that's because this road doesn't have an end, so I should take this handy like end cap piece. Okay, and now we see it's happy that the road system is valid. So that's the first check. Is valid, and that basically, yeah, just checks that tiles connect properly with their neighbors, which hopefully makes sense. Once you get into the logic, we're kind of looping through every tile, and we're saying, okay, which neighbors should I have? If I have a north neighbor, then I expect it to have my north neighbor to have a south connection to kind of connect up with me. That's the logic there. And if we get to the end of this loop, we've checked every tile, then we can conclude that it's correct. Oh, okay, yes, air piece. So there is actually that's an excellent question. So let me do something that seems to make sense. So, yeah, so this would be invalid, right? And it does actually print out false. It then crashes in the next bit of code, but that's something I'll explain shortly. But yes, it does check that. And the way it checks that is there's this function which returns true if a neighbor connects to its neighbor. And the first thing it does is it checks if we're out of bounds of the world. And it says if the neighbor you're asking about is like, its coordinate is like less than 0, meaning it's all the way so far to the left that it's off the edge of the world, or if it's like further than the size of the world in the X or Y direction, then it immediately returns false. So it does actually cover that. That's a great question, and it kind of leads me into the next thing, which is the next check we do is, are all the buildings connected? And the way that this works is it wants to check, okay, we've got a legal network of roads, does it actually touch all of these buildings? And the way it does that is it starts from the tower here, and then it just explores all of the neighbors from the tower, right? So it will first check this one, and then 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 it'll get into trouble here. And I don't actually account for this case in this bit of code. Because I shouldn't really be triggering this check if this one's already failed, if that makes sense. So if the road network is valid, it would mean that there aren't any roads going off the edge of the world, so I should just avoid doing this check entirely if the road isn't valid. So that's something I don't do right now. I think I have a bit of code which does the check. Yeah, I just do this. Look, if I press V, I'm going to call this is valid, and then I'm going to check for connectivity as well. What I should probably do is do this check first. Hey, Yita, how's it going? Wow, that sounds like an interesting project. Speech jammers are horrible. Like, the closest I've got to that is when you're on a Discord call with somebody and there's like an echo or feedback. It's happened on stream a couple of times that for whatever reason the audio's got screwed up and I've been hearing myself, and it is absolutely impossible. Is it one of those jammers that just delays your speech and plays it back to you? Because, man, that's real bad. So anyway, what I'm doing is I'm going to do this check first, and then I'm only going to do this building check if it's valid, because if it's not, you know, the player's already kind of failed to complete the level properly. Yeah. It sounds like an interesting stream, man. Okay, so now we should see if I press V. Yeah, it doesn't continue the road check if things are invalid. Yeah, no problem, no problem. Thanks for dropping by. Let me connect these up again. Yeah, I saw you on my list of people active, like streaming politics, so that's pretty interesting. Connect this back in. Okay, yeah, now it does this check. It figures out the level is valid, and it goes, okay, I'm now going to check if all the buildings are connected too. And the check if the buildings are connected is a little bit more complex. Again, if you want to check the previous VOD, I go through all this in detail. This is basically like kind of like a flood fill or a graph search algorithm, if that's something you've heard of at all. Yeah, what we do is we start from one tile and then we queue up other tiles that we want to explore next. In this case, we're just going to queue up its only neighbor. And we'll continue doing that, and we'll effectively work our way through this whole map. Difference is when we get to this tile, we're going to queue up both this neighbor and this neighbor to explore next. And then eventually we'll get through all of those, right? So maybe we go and explore this path, and then this tile's still like waiting, queued up, waiting to be explored, so then we go and explore that. It makes sure that we cover everything. And as soon as we touch all of the buildings, right, we do something here. Like if there's a building here, then I'm going to add it to the list of buildings, and if the number of buildings we've reached is equal to the number of buildings in total, then we go, yes, you've managed to touch everything. Otherwise, we'll continue trying to explore this whole road network. And if we get to the end of exploring every tile without having seen all the buildings, then we conclude the player hasn't completed the level successfully. Yeah, so those are the two parts. Validating the road network and then checking that it actually touches all the buildings, because you could have a valid network which doesn't touch all the buildings. So I could just end this road here and this road here. Yeah, you can see down there it's valid, but it's not connected. So it ends up exploring all of this stuff, and then it never gets to this, because the search kind of starts from the tower and like expands out from that. So in this case, this bit of road never gets included, but if I connect it back up in some way, no matter how complex this way is, it should eventually find it. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so it's valid and it's connected. So the basic mechanic is there. Also we can save and load these maps from a file. That's also something we implemented, and we basically just used a library called JSON, which is like a library for reading and writing stuff from text files, and we can basically just say, hey, convert my whole world into a string and then dump it into a file, and then when it loads it does the same thing. Yeah, so that's that. So there's a couple of things to do next. Let me open up my little sketch document, which I actually have a checklist to remember I don't forget to do, but I still forgot to do it today. Okay, let's start thinking about the stuff we still have to do to turn this into a real game. Yeah, okay, I'll show you the format. Another good question. Where are we? So if we look inside here, we can see a file called library.json. And the format is really ugly, but thankfully a human will probably never need to look at this, so it's probably okay. Basically the world is a big array, or like a 2D array, so this might represent like one row of the world, and then they're all just in this big list, like this. Then there's another little array with the coordinates of the tower, and then there's another little array with the coordinates of all of the buildings. So that's what constitutes like a level. Yeah, so this particular structure is called JSON, JavaScript Object Notation. It's a very popular, probably the most popular format for like storing stuff in a text form. And every language you might think to use will have a library or a built-in thing which can like save and load any kind of objects. to or from this format more or less as like a single line of code. Like it's that common and well supported pretty much. But this is not really meant to be human readable. I actually have a little thing where if I press like the S key, you know, I can use this editor to kind of change the level. Like if I put a load of junk in here, I can press S, and then it saves that, and then I can run the thing again. Oops, was it S or was it something else? Oh, okay, I was in the wrong mode. So I can place a load of stuff and save. Yeah, like if I wanted to support another map editor, I would almost certainly use another format. I think there's something called Tiled. And this has like a common format, which I could, you know, I could try and write to the format which they like, and then you could load and do stuff in their editor. Yeah, I mean, just for a little simple one-off project, I think this is fine. But yeah, to use a more standard format, which other map editors support, would be quite a good little way to extend this, I think. We are including some information like the... so here's the actual class that represents it, right? We just have an array for the world. We have another array which just holds an XY coordinate for the tower, and then we have another array which holds several XY coordinates. So this class, we give it to the JSON library and say, hey, write that to a file, and then that corresponds to this thing here. So, you know, this works for me. For now, at least. Yeah, so let's figure out what we want to do to turn this into an actual playable game. I think one of the first things is to maybe limit the tiles they have available. And I'm going to call it the tile pool, I think. Because right now we've got, in Minecraft terms, this is like creative mode, right? We just have this thing, and I can place these however I feel like. Whereas to make this a game, we kind of want to limit the number, so maybe yeah, we'll go into how to do it after I list out everything else we need. So limiting the tile pool. We probably also want like progression through levels, right? So maybe like auto detect a win. Auto detect a win. And my handwriting on tablet is not great. And then I'd also like to just have a few levels. And have it, when you win one level, to kind of take you through to the next one. I think that's the bare minimum we need to have this a game. Be an actual game. Hey, Yuta! Thanks so much for the raid. Much appreciated. What would be nice as a stretch goal would be to like randomly generate these levels, but this has been the third stream on this project, which is already rare for me, and I feel like trying to do procedural generation, even though it's possible, and I kind of talked a little bit at the end of the last stream about how we might do it. It would just take time, and I'm not sure if that's kind of within scope. That would be nice to do in the future, though. Maybe if anyone wants to grab the source code from this afterwards, and that's a little idea for a project for how to extend this, if you like. So let's think about how to limit our tile pool. So I've even got a little to-do that I would like here. So we can do something like, well, what information do we need? Right now the tile types are in a list like this. So we could just use something like this, right? So a map going from the name of the tile to the number of them we're allowed to use. Yeah, let's do that. I mean, I've just written that there so I can maybe manually edit it into this level. So let's say, I said I wouldn't be manually editing this, but maybe this is the kind of thing where I would just manually put this in for now. So what types of road do we have? Just to check it works, let's pick a couple at random. Let's give them like road corner 1 and road 1. So let's say they have like 5 of these and like 2 of these, something like that. That could be there. Nope, that's not correct. Colon. There we go. Lots of Perlin noise and seed. Yeah, so I think there's several layers to this actually. Okay, let's talk about this because this is fun and interesting. And I've done some stuff like this before, but thinking about how this will work. There's 2 layers to this, right? You've got the base map, and then you've got the network of roads. So generating the base map, I think Perlin noise would be an absolutely amazing thing to use for this. So if you look at, let's just look at some Perlin noise. Okay, so you get this kind of thing, right? Like this kind of terrain looking stuff, which you could imagine being a height map. So we could say, you know, anything that's really bright white, we're going to place down these mountainy tiles. Anything that's like really dark, we're going to turn into water. And then anything that's in the middle, we're just going to have grass. And we're going to try and somehow, you know, fit these tiles onto this thing. It's not totally obvious how you do that, right? But you try and find a, like maybe this becomes a little lake and you try and place the tiles to like match this shape a little bit. So that's one layer of the world. Yeah, and Perlin noise is great for that. The next one is this this network of roads, right? So even though it's going to be the player's job to fill in the road network, your procedural generation, the way I imagine this working is it would generate a complete solution with all the building placements and all the roads so that it knows it's possible to like win the level, and then you just delete most of the roads and then hand it to the player and say, hey, complete this, right? Because you know then that it's possible. Like a big thing to avoid, especially in any kind of puzzle game for procedural generation, is you don't want to generate an impossible challenge. So the easiest way is to generate a solved problem and then just take stuff away from it before you show it to the player. And in terms of generating a road network, Perlin noise is probably not ideal for that. Probably the way I would do it is by some sort of random walk. And the way that tends to work is you would start at a certain point, and then maybe I'd place the tower here, right? And imagine we're on a grid here. So then I'd go, okay, let's randomly pick a direction. Okay, I went this way, let's randomly pick a direction. Okay, I went this way, let's randomly pick direction. Okay, I go this way. Then maybe like randomly have a chance for the road to branch off. In which case maybe it branches like that, and then maybe you start randomly picking directions again, and again. If it goes this way, then this way, then this way, then this way, and this way, and then maybe it somehow like loops back on itself, whatever it may be. Right, now you've got a random network, and at a certain point you stop, and then you just place your buildings at like random spots, and then you say, okay, that's our road network. Maybe you have to figure out what tiles match these, but given we've already got the code that like checks that you've got legal roads, it would be quite simple to use that similar code to say, okay, this is like a straight road tile. This one is like a, you know, it's like these kind of tiles, right? You could figure out which tiles fit these shapes, I think, without too much trouble. Like that's very within reason to do. Yeah, so I think that's how you would do the road generation. 2 layers. One is Perlin noise, probably. The other one is what we call the random walk. Yeah, I think that would be the most appropriate approach to that. So, okay, now we've got this set of like stuff in our tile pool. We should only show players stuff. Some code where we draw the UI here, right? Where are we? It's a little bit of a mess and it's all kind of in one file. Okay, what we do is we loop through each type of placeable tile and then we just draw the image of that tile there. What I want to do now is probably just draw on top some text with the number of tiles available. So number of tiles in pool is equal to the current level tile pool let me pull this out. I'm going to want to refer to this list, I think. Where are we? So we look up in the level what the number is for this type of tile. It's possible that it's just not in the list, right? We didn't list a load of all the other types with like zeros next to them here, so which is kind of lazy on our part, but we should probably account for that by saying, you know, if it's you know what? I think there's actually a nice. There's this handy function which, for whatever reason, I was not aware existed in Java. Yeah, I can actually say get all default 0, I believe. Yeah, so we can say, you know, if it's in there by its name, pull out the number. Otherwise, we'll just assume it's 0 if it's not in there. I'm just converting this integer to a string here. This is kind of a hacky way to do it. I think probably this is actually the nice way to do it. Cool. So we're now drawing those numbers. I did not like loading this. Probably messed up here. Oh, no comma. Let's stop and run again. Okay, I'm sure you can't see this. It looks like there's a tiny number 0 there, just being drawn. So I'm going to make the font way bigger. So let's say is it text size? I think that's it. So let's make the text white. Oh, wrong way around. I need to set a fill, but not a stroke, I believe. Okay, that's not the most readable. I think I'm gonna I can move it down underneath the tiles. So I think I can center the text. I can probably just add sort of arbitrarily a number here until it looks about right. Oh, more than that, I think. Oh, it doesn't like that. Okay. And how's this position? Okay, it annoys me that it's just touching those. Let me just make it slightly larger. Okay, there we go. I think I'm happy with that. And we can see that there we have 2 of these and 5 of these. Right now this isn't enforced. I can place whatever I want still. So let's do something else here, right? Which is check this first, because I want to kind of color them differently. And what I actually think I want to do is to say if there are more than 0 tiles in the pool, then I'm going to say the alpha is 5, otherwise I want to 8. So what I want doing here essentially is I'm going to dim them out if they're not, if I don't have any left, if the number's 0, right? Okay. Looks much nicer. I can still scroll through them. I should maybe not even allow that, but yeah, I think I'm okay with this. Cool. So I can... We're kind of seeing this visually now, but it's still not being enforced. So I probably just need to check when I try and place a tile that I actually have some in the bank here. So I could do that when I click. So let's check. Actually, so that's how that works. I get the number of the tiles in the pool. I can say if it's greater than 0, then I will place something. So this will hopefully now enforce that I can place. Nope, doesn't like that. Okay. Oh, that's wrong. Looked up the wrong array. So now I can place these happily. If I highlight something else, then it won't let me place these. Great. Okay, that seems to be doing that. The next thing I think is that these counts aren't changing. So what I'll probably need here is something like, I guess like a similar map for the number which I've actually used already, if that makes sense. Tiles used. And then what I think I'll do is when I place something, I'm going to say tiles of this type used is going to be equal to used dot get default type name 0. Then I'm going to add 1 to that, And then I'm going to store that back. Okay, so yeah, all I'm doing is I'm looking up how many tiles I've used already. If it's not in the list, I'm just going to assume I've used 0. That seems to make sense. And I'm going to add 1 to that. Ooh. Then I'm going to store that, the new number, back in our little tiles used list. And now when I'm drawing stuff and I'm figuring out the number of tiles in the pool, I can actually subtract now the number I've used already. What I'm not wanting to do is fiddling around inside this level and changing this array and like subtracting things out of it. I'd rather keep, because that's part of the definition of the level, right? Whereas this tiles used is kind of the state of the actual player's attempt, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if that distinction makes sense, but to me, I don't want to touch the level definition. It would also get messy, like if I want to reset the level, I've now forgotten how many tiles originally were part of the pool and stuff, so I'd rather leave this untouched and keep track separately of how many tiles I've used of each type, so then I can kind of just subtract that to find how many I've got remaining. So what I do is I look up, based on the level definition, how many tiles are in that pool for this type, then I subtract the number I've used for that type, and that gives me the number remaining. So hopefully now you should see that if I place something, cool, the number on the top left is going down, and again, and now it will no longer, oh, still letting me place that. That's very weird. What's going on there? Oh, I should probably, I wasn't applying the same logic here, right? Cool. So now, place it. Oh, no longer let me place it. I can't place this one. I can place either of these curves. Cool. So that basic logic is working. So can we say this is done? I think the one thing I still need to do is a way to, what do you call it? A way to unplace a tile and put it back in my pool. You know, the player needs an undo. I'm thinking if they right click, it should just put it back in their pool. There's one other thing we're not handling, which I'm actually going to add to this list now, which is like locked tiles, if that makes sense. And what I'm thinking is maybe the level comes with some bits of road pre-placed. The player shouldn't be able to like delete all of those and then reuse them in a different arrangement. If a road was placed on the level at the start, it should stay there. Like maybe I should even color it differently. I need to somehow keep track of which tiles the player has placed and which ones are kind of part of the level to begin with. Yeah. So let's do something where if, is this how it works? I'm totally guessing that's the syntax here. If it's the left button, then we're going to do that. Else if it's the right button, so left click is placing a tile. This is to unplace a tile. So what we should do is we should check how many we've used already. right? If I haven't used any, then it means, well, this is one way to tell that it's not something that tile the player has placed already. So I'm going to bail out if that's the case. Can't unplace tiles the player didn't place. So this will straight away prevent them from unplacing like grass and mountains and stuff. Kujafar, I do not want to buy followers. Thank you very much. Let me just quickly ban this person. Boom. Spam be gone. Yeah, if I haven't used any, then that's an easy way to like bail out. Otherwise, I'm going to subtract from that, and then I'm going to say put used, and I will set it to be grass, which I believe is just 0. This kind of turns it to the pool. This kind of sets to grass. So now, hopefully, if I right-click here, nothing's happening. But if I right-click on this one, nope, still nothing happened. Okay, that did actually work. Oh, that's so weird. Oh, okay, that's an interesting case, right? If I place a tile on top, then it sort of overwrites and I'm using up my pool when that shouldn't really be happening. So, interesting. We need to handle that case. So let's take let's actually move this logic out to a separate function. Because we're going to need to use it in a couple of different places. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about this edge case. Also, this isn't right. It should be returning the tile that's already there. So the tile type name is actually whatever's at our coordinate. That gives us a number. We want the actual name of it. Yeah, so the tile we're unplacing is whatever's in the world right now at that location. Then we do that same deal. So we try to unplace it. Now, we need to do the same thing here, right? Which is attempt to unplace whatever was previously in the location. Oh, that's wrong. This exact call. So before So now hopefully if I place this and then place one again, the number doesn't go down. Okay, so you can see right now I've got this curve and there's 4 of those in the bank. If I replace it with a straight line, then it restores that one to me, which is excellent. So one thing I can do, which I should not be able to, is I can still I guess pick up tiles which were already there. Actually, why can't I pick that up? Actually, no, actually that is true. Okay, so yeah, we've still got this weird case where I can... Basically the logic for preventing me from picking up tiles I never placed in the first place is not quite complete, right? Like I can't pick this up because it's not even a type of tile, but this one's a weird case because those are in my pool, right? So I can like place this one and then pick up this one. And then it stops me from picking up the previous one because I can't go kind of over my pool's capacity, but I shouldn't really be able to do that. So this is where like the locked tiles comes in, and I think that will make that work for us. So for now, pending that locked tile stuff, I think we can safely say we have got a limited pool of tiles now. So let's think about locking tiles. One way to do this is to say the only tiles which we can interact with are tiles which were grass on the base map. And you know what? I think that's a reasonable way to do this. So I'm going to do something like let's do something whereby basically when we start a level, we're going to need to take an inventory of where all the grass is, if you like. So rather than just doing this thing here, I'm going to say use our little function because the logic's going to get slightly more complex now. Okay, so I'm going to save the current level. I'm going to say, what did I call it? Interactable tiles. Then I'm going to loop over the entire map. And I'm just going to say if current, actually this is L, right? A bit more shorthand, if L if it's number 0 there, then I'm going to say interactable tiles.add xy. So now I have a big list of xy coordinates in string form. Again, there was a saga about why we're using strings and not a nicer data type here. Check out the previous stream if you're interested. To do with hash codes and stuff in Java, which is kind of out of scope, but like somewhat interesting if you want to get into some lower level stuff. But we basically have this list of all the tiles we're allowed to interact with. So now we can simply say in our logic, where are we? In our mouse press logic, can say, if the coordinate of the tile we're hovering over is not in this list, then I'm going to bail out. Right, so it will prevent us from doing anything really with a tile that's not marked as interactable, and it hopefully has done that correctly. Let's check. So, okay, here's a mountain. Can we place something on it? No. Here's a bit of grass, can we? Yes, we can. Here's a bit of road. Okay, getting somewhere here. So now I just can't do anything with things which weren't grass when we originally loaded the map, so that seems fairly safe. This thing, can I pick it up? I cannot. I can pick this up though. Can't overwrite this, but I can overwrite and do whatever I want with my own tiles here. So I think we seem fairly safe. Cool. So one thing I should probably do is, like, once you've started building, you may forget which tiles are kind of fixed and which aren't. So probably I should highlight the fixed tiles in some way, or highlight the tiles which you've placed in some way. Probably the ones you've placed, right? Okay, so we can say if it's not grass, but it is an interactable tile, then it means it's a tile that used to be grass that we've placed something on, so we can highlight this differently. Dot contains this tile is marked as interactable, but it doesn't contain grass. The player must have placed something here. So let's just color it like slightly differently somehow. This will be the else case here. So I don't know, what do we do? Don't know what color's going to not look super ugly. Maybe we can make this more subtle as well. So let us place blue. Okay, I can live with this. If any more graphically minded person has ideas, then we can change that. For now, that's probably fine. If I want to make it more subtle, I could like bump this up so it's closer to being white. Another thing is, this is not ideal for colorblind players, so if I was doing this for real, I would have some other, like some outline or some nicer way to indicate this. Because, you know, this is ultimately something you should care about. It's kind of accessibility, so I would ultimately do this in a different way. I don't know how this would look to a colorblind person. I fear that it may not be super clear. So I'd draw an outline or something, but as a quick and dirty thing, just to test the gameplay, I'm kind of cool with this for now. Okay, so we can now place things. We can pick up stuff that we placed. We are very close to having this be a game now. So let us do something here. The next thing on our list is auto-detecting a win. So, you know what, let's do that whenever a tile is placed, right? We can do like a check for win function down here, and I can actually just use this code. You know what, I no longer need it here. We're going to do pretty much the same thing. If we're connected, yeah, you did it. The level is complete. And we can do something else, but like we can move on to the next level. Who knows? So let's see if this happens. So now every time we place a tile, it's going to check for that whole level completion. Actually, I'm not going to be able to complete. Not going to be able to complete the level here. I don't have enough tiles to do it. And it's fine, right? Like, it doesn't seem to lag performance in any way. You might think, oh, checking all of this graph pathfinding, checking if the level's valid, following all the roads around, shouldn't that be a slow thing to do? But honestly, no. I mean, this is a small graph. It's just got maybe a couple dozen tiles in it. This sort of thing should happen in the blink of an eye. Computers are crazy fast, and even though this code isn't 100% optimized, it's nothing too crazy, to be honest. So it's perfectly fine to check this every time the user clicks to place a tile. Okay, let's give myself some more stuff so I actually have a hope of completing this. So let's actually figure out what we would want and kind of add it into our pool here. So how am I going to do this? I'm going to sort of place this here, and then I'm just going to have this on another monitor so I can kind of fill it in with what I need, and then I can have these things to refer to. Cool. So I think I need a straight line, or rather I need like a bend and a T-junction there, I think. So I need a road corner 1. I need a road corner 3. I need a... what are these T's? Bend, T-junction. I need another curvy bit, so I need another road corner 3. And then I need... so I've done what? I've curved down here, and then I need 2 more straight sections, I believe. So, if my calculations are correct, which they probably are not, I've just filled in some stuff now, and I think that's enough to complete the level. It's not the most interesting level, but I think it'll do the job. Okay, let's first check that this even is valid. Okay. Okay. Nice, looking okay so far. That curve. Oh, okay, I gave myself the wrong type of road. Okay. So let's give myself only 2 of those, but 2 of the other types. And I think this will do what we want. This is the right difficulty for like tutorial level? I don't know. Gotta start easy, right? Ease the player into it. Cool, so I did not need those at all. What were they? Road 1, so I can just ditch those entirely. And it looks like I also was not actually calling the code that checks for a win. It should happen here. I can only win the moment I'm placing something, right? There's no need to check when I remove something or in any other time. It's only the moment when I placed a tile that things really change. Actually, that's not true. It would be possible to... Okay, assuming I had enough tiles, it would be possible to have like some junk tile over here somewhere. And then have everything valid, and then the moment I removed that, that would actually then be the moment I completed the level. So I should probably check at that moment also. So I'm now checking whenever I add or remove a tile. Okay. One more. One more. Yes! I did it indeed. Okay. Awesome. That's pretty successful. I think we now have the basic bones of this thing there. And it's a really kind of polish and structure around this, which we could add. So, we detected the win. Let's give ourselves several levels. You know what I'm thinking is that this stuff... You know what, forget it. I was going to say we could just not show stuff at the top if it's not in the... What do you call it? In the pool for this level, but honestly I think that's pretty trivial to do and not that interesting to get into right now. We've probably got another 20 minutes or so, so I think adding a couple of new levels and a way to progress between them makes the most sense. So what I'm going to do is try and create another layout here, I guess. So I've still got this old mode in the editor where I can scroll through like loads of different available stuff, and this is how I would, you know, like make. That's how I made this map originally. How am I going to do this? It's a little bit janky. So this file actually contains a list of levels, so I can add more. So, you know, I could just copy paste this level. That's the next one. And then I could say, what's current level? Then when I check for victory, I can actually do, so if I'm kind of at the last level, then user just completed everything here, right? We just go exit, there we go. Otherwise, let's start level. Levels.get I. No. Okay, so when they complete a level, we're going to move to the next. Let's actually put this separately. I prefer this name to just next level. Next level is not really like a verb, right? Like this is actually an action, so I feel like that's a more descriptive name. I'm actually going to do this logic here. Why am I doing this? Because I want a little debug key that will just skip me to the next level anyway. Because I feel like that would be useful for me. Let's just do n for next. Okay. Because this hopefully means that now I can run this, and then I can just change something here so we can tell that this has happened. N, next level. Okay, so now we're on this level, which kind of looks the same, but trust me, is not the same. Let's make it trivially not quite the same. There we go, I guess. Let's sort of change these things. Probably I don't want to reposition the buildings and stuff. Oh, that's a bit more interesting. Okay. Right, like maybe that's what this level's like. So we can now save that. And now if we come back and reload. Hey VJX, thanks so much for the follow. VJX, whatever we call you. So there's level 1. If I press N, it takes me to level 2. Okay, we've now got multiple levels. And that hopefully also means that if I complete one level, like so, and it can detect that, and it can take us to the next level. Awesome. One issue here is you see my pool is still empty, and I believe that's because when I move to the next level, I should actually reset my... Man, this is getting... Okay, like 350 lines. This is not the most organized code, but what are we going to do? When we start a level, I should probably make sure that I... Was it use tiles or place tiles? What do we call it? Tiles used. I should probably replace that with a new thing, because a fresh thing like this. Because we kind of want to reset it, right? Which should now mean I complete this. Nope, that's actually a mistake. Okay, not so easy after all, maybe. Boom. Now my pool is back. Awesome. So I would need different tiles to complete this level. Let me try and fill out that list quickly. Again, I'm going to just put this, actually let me reload. So now we should see in here we have one level and now a second level. Here's the pool, and I'm just going to update this with some new road types based on what we think we actually need to complete this one. Again, bringing this stuff up. I'm going to start from scratch, I think, and figure out what I need here. So for this, I need to come kind of straight and then like loop around. and then maybe T-junction off, and then continue up and connect up with that one. Let's call it something like that. Seems reasonable. So I need a couple of road 2 pieces. This one here to come down here. I need to curve and then go straight and then curve again. So ideally I wouldn't be doing this manually. I give myself an editor type thing to let me figure this out. That might be a nice thing to do, but the but is that I'm too lazy to do it right now. I'm okay with just manually typing this in for now, although I'd probably make a mode where these are unlimited and it just remembers what you placed and then that becomes your pool. Seems reasonable. You know what? But yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. It might even be quicker to do that than to even just type out these few for this one level. So let's do like a like this. All these modes and stuff are also a bit hacky, but again, I'm too lazy to fix that. I think you get the idea, right? There are many ways you could make this nicer, but I'm kind of trying to jam all the editor and puzzle building functionality in with the game itself, rather than having like proper separate modes or a separate editor. You know, I think this is okay for now. So basically I'm gonna sort out these checks here, right? So I'm just gonna kind of skip these checks if creative mode is on. Just kind of just lift those restrictions if you like. I only want to do this. Then I do the UI. Kind of do stuff differently, and then I think what I'll do is yeah, let's just do something like too many magic keys here, but yeah, I think I will just do something like this. Not the cleanest thing, but the idea here is that I can do something like this. I can put creative mode on, then I can kind of record, you know, like solve the level in whatever way I feel like. And now do P, and it will handily print out for me the tiles required to do that. Okay, grass is kind of a special case there. Let me, and then I can put that back into the level, like so. Please auto format. Right, I can ditch that. And now hopefully when I load this back up, ooh. What is wrong there? Fine. Got something weird going on here. Looks fine to me. It's very easy to get these little errors of missing a comma or a bracket. Normally what I'll do is I'll like use the ID, and if it highlights the brackets properly, it probably means they're matched, but that's actually not 100% foolproof. What is wrong there? Oh, it's here. Okay. Okay, so if that worked, I should have the tiles I need to complete this particular level in a kind of funky way, using a load of twisty tiles. Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm pretty much about to wrap up. I maybe just finish another level or two, so you can play through 2 or 3 levels. But yeah, we've got the bulk of it done. I think this is most of the logic. Boom, level's completed, and I've kind of got a little tool which helps me to design these solutions. Awesome. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hopefully I'll catch you next one. Okay, I can now continue with my little road network here. There we go. And then I don't know what this should look like. This seems sensible. Cool. Now I can then print that out, and I can use this. Saves me a little bit of time, at least. It's not the ideal way, perhaps. I should maybe just have it write these things out for me anyway. But, you know, it gets the job done. There's always a balance between coding something up properly in terms of a tool and just hacking something together, which lets you do your development or your level design, and kind of living with the slight discomfort in using it, or slight lack of usability. There we go. Can I remember how I did this? I'd also love the editor. I would also love the editor to let me move these buildings around, but as of right now, I kind of need to do that manually in the code as well. So these are definitely things you'd add as kind of stretch goals, but I think the basic principles are more or less demonstrated here. So I guess I need to use this junction because I can't do it the other way around because I don't have the pieces for that. So, so this must just end. Okay, this actually feels like a puzzle game now. I mean, not the most difficult or interesting run perhaps, but it does feel like a puzzle game. I was worried I'd end up with one too few pieces there and be really stuck, but incomplete. Nice! So there we go. Let's add one more level to this maybe, and let's just like move the buildings around so we can do something a little different. So just 5, 2, I don't know. 7, 7, and 3, 3. Topple doesn't matter, we'll be overwriting that. Okay, press N to skip. Press N to skip again. That makes something very similar. Okay, let's not do that. Let's put this other building somewhere else. Probably in the river there, knowing my luck. Okay, no, this will do. Okay. Is this solvable? That's an interesting question, right? Just with these placements as they are, I guess you'd have to go like. Okay, I feel like I should at least place the things where these buildings are, because otherwise it's kind of odd. Okay, if I place those and then save that, now I'm going to reload it because I don't want those placements to be part of this little pool calculation thing I'm doing. I just want to kind of save those in there. Oh, I was in the wrong. It won't let me save if I'm in this mode. Right, so creative. That there. Move out of that mode. Now save. Okay. Now load, so those tile placements remain. Next. Okay. Now if I go in here and creative mode, okay, now I can actually just kind of specify a solution. Or prove to myself that it's solvable, so we can then create a tile pool that makes sense. Kind of interesting question of, should we make them use all of the tiles, or is it okay if they find a solution which doesn't use all of them? Actually, this should connect. Should we get really funky with this and do something kind of odd, where it ends up like creeping all the way around here? So obviously you'd think of kind of going around the other way, so this feels like a solution you might need to puzzle around for a while before you reach it. Cool, that's that. Let's throw another red herring in here. God, am I even going to be able to complete this afterwards? I feel like the difficulty may have ramped up with this stage to an unreasonable extent, but let's see. Okay, let's print out those. That's kind of satisfying actually to look at. Let's print out those. Put them back. Shove them into our document. Down here, take out the grass. I cannot stand the fact that these are not aligned properly. Also, they should be topple. Okay. Let's save that. And now let's try and solve our little 3-level game. And I think if we manage to do that, I think we can call it a day. We technically have several. 3 counts as several. And you know, I don't know if you want to sit and watch me all day go through making more levels for this, but this is something anyone watching could grab the source code, which I'll post up. Okay, I've got a question. When I put a VOD on Twitch, it lets me put like a description, and I'll normally put a link to the source code in there, but can you ever see the description of a video on Twitch? Like in the UI, like in the app or the website, does it even show it? I feel like it maybe doesn't, so maybe the best place to check is YouTube, because that will actually have the description, with all the source code links and stuff. So if you search up Stray Basilisk on YouTube, you'll find the recording of this within the next few days, and then that will have the source code, and you can play around creating your own levels. Challenge me to complete them if you wish. Yeah, and I'd love to see people like play around with this and make the editor a bit more usable and add a menu and make it into more of a full-fledged game. That'd be kind of cool. Okay, what did I have to do here? Went around this way, didn't I? Remembering how I did it before, it does not feel like solving a puzzle game. I'd probably have tried to go a different direction, I don't know. If I was intuitively trying to solve this. Yeah, another thing is make it so it just skips over the ones which aren't available. Just a slightly fiddly bit of logic, but nothing too crazy, I don't think. Yeah, okay. Why did it not remember my placement? That is weird. So let me put those back in. Oh, you know what? It's probably because I'd saved this text file. Without reloading it to put in those changes I did, which were like here, right? If I save this now, probably those changes are now in. Now hopefully when I get to it, oh crap, it's also saved those in a complete state. Not ideal, but I'm not going to go and fix that. Okay, now let's try and do this thing. So I have to curve. I legit can't remember the exact path I took here. This, by the way, is why this solution is not ideal, and I should have it full-fledged built into the editor for like moving buildings and changing the pool and specifying locked versus unlocked tiles and all of that kind of stuff. But for me, for these streams, like I don't want to focus on the... If it's kind of obvious how something's done and it's just a case of going through a load of drudge work to do it, that's not what I make these streams for, really. I mean, it's all about the interesting parts of these solutions and the algorithms and the problem-solving aspect of it, so I tend not to focus on those if I can avoid it. So here, what do I do? How does this connect? Because I don't have the T-junction I feel like I want. I think it could be something kind of funky where it like loops around and then connects. Like this, maybe? Is this what I did? Feels possibly. Let's curve this round. Okay, then it's probably... Oh no. I've got to make a difficult puzzle. Okay, let's do it like that. And then lead myself back this way. God, I've got like no pieces left. Help! This must come in some funky way. Oh, it came in like this, didn't it? It was something kind of silly. Oof. I'm pretty stuck, you know. I mean, this pretty much has to be something kind of like this. And there has to be a kind of junction here because there are two separate like sections or paths. Just more unnecessary loopage. Get one of those back. And then maybe if I move this, then I can do this with a loop instead. Nope, still doesn't really give me what I feel like I need. Right, I was thinking I'm running out of straight pieces, so something like this could possibly work. Okay, I'm totally stumping myself with this now. I also feel like maybe I've just screwed up on specifying that pool and I've made myself an impossible level, but I feel like maybe not. I'm just missing something here. This is going to be a terrible note to end the stream on, me me failing to complete my own puzzle game. Maybe it didn't do that. Could I simplify this somehow? I mean, this has to branch. Presumably it doesn't branch this way. Although it could, right? It could go more like this. Which means this would kind of fit, possibly. If it was more like this direction. Self-doubt settling it. Oh no, I've only got one of those. I do feel like it kind of snaked around this in an odd way. I seem to remember doing that. Well, except I definitely need a straight line there. This is weirding me out because it feels like it shouldn't be there, so I may have made a mistake in specifying this. Okay. As disappointing as this is, I think I can say I've successfully created a puzzling game. Because it's puzzled me into complete failure. Yeah, I'm going to have to rewind and check that I didn't screw something up and that this is actually possible. I'm probably going to facepalm myself when I see it. But I think we will probably call it a day for there. Say thank you to everyone for tuning in. If you've stuck with us for the last 3 streams, that's awesome. If not, you can check back the VODs either on our Twitch channel or on YouTube, depending where you're watching this. If you're interested in Stray Basilisk and what we do, then we do have a Discord where you can check in on what we're doing, and our main project, Steamhounds, which is a kind of turn-based tactical steampunk themed thing, which, if I do say it so myself, is looking pretty awesome and shaping up pretty well. So we'd love to chat to people about that and kind of get people's help to develop the game and find bugs and get gameplay suggestions and stuff. Otherwise, you can follow our Twitter, where we generally post a poll before these streams, the day before these streams, about what topic we should do. As I say, this is kind of a weird, unusual case in that we've been working on this for a couple of streams, but normally we do a complete project in every stream, and the scope's a little bit smaller. I'm typing those out in full when I realise I set up Nightbot the other day, but there you go. Follow us there if you want to get more information or vote on the topics of these streams. Otherwise, thanks so much for tuning in, and I will catch you next time. Bye-bye. I'm off to rewind the VOD and figure out how the hell to complete this level.